in a hidden valley of Northern California, where ancient redwoods pierced the heavens and the last embers of sunset bled into a sky of molten gold, a circle of young souls gathered on the cool, needle-strewn earth. The air was alive with the sharp tang of pine, the faint moan of a temple bell, and the weight of unspoken questions that hung like mist. These were no robed ascetics, but everyday seekers, high schoolers, college kids, wanderers in worn sneakers and faded jackets, their faces etched with hope and doubt, caught in the lantern's trembling glow. Each carried a heart heavy with the world's clamor, the sting of comparison, the pull of distraction, the ache for meaning. As twilight deepened, casting shadows that danced with the redwood's quiet strength, a boy named Liam rose, his voice cracking like a branch under strain. "Teacher," he pleaded, eyes glistening with a raw, unspoken hunger. "You've taught us to seek wisdom, to cradle compassion, to walk mindfully. But what shadows must we face? What qualities, what actions should we refuse to honor?" The master, seated on a simple bench, his gray robes flowing like a river at rest, lifted his gaze, and the valley seemed to still, redwoods, stars, and wind holding their breath. His voice, when it came, was a low, resonant tide, carrying the promise of truth. "To offer respect is to see the Dharma in another's heart," he said. "But to grow wise, you must also discern what dims that light. 10 qualities, like arrogance and dishonesty, that bind you to suffering and tear the delicate threads of our shared existence." The students' hearts quickened, their eyes wide as the grove itself seemed to lean in, ready to witness a teaching that would unravel the knots of their lives and set them free. 1. Arrogance. The master's gaze moved slowly across the circle, meeting each student's eyes as if peering into their unspoken thoughts. "The first quality that does not deserve respect is arrogance," he said, his voice clear, like a bell struck one once. "Arrogance is a veil over the eyes, a belief that one stands above others, their knowledge or worth unmatched. It closes the heart to the truth of our shared nature." He leaned forward, his robe brushing the earth, and gestured toward the redwoods. "These trees, centuries old, do not boast of their height. They grow, they shelter, they endure, each one part of the forest's dance. But arrogance sets a person apart, like a lone stone refusing the stream's flow." He paused, letting the image settle. Think of a young lawyer in San Francisco, striding into court with polished shoes and a sharp tongue. Certain her arguments outshine all others, she interrupts her colleagues, ignores the junior clerk's invites, and sees no value in their perspectives. Her cases falter, not for lack of skill, but because her arrogance blinds her to the team's strength. Over time, her office grows cold, her allies drift away, and she sits alone, wondering why success feels hollow. The students felt the lawyer's isolation, a tightness in their chests, as they pictured her solitary desk. The master's voice softened, carrying a story. "I once knew a practitioner here, Elena, who arrived with a mind full of books on Zen. She spoke confidently, correcting others' meditation postures, certain she grasped the Dharma's depths. But in her pride, she missed the Sangha's quiet lessons. The way a smile during dishwashing could teach patience, or a shared chocolates could reveal impermanence. One day, during a long seat, Elena's body ached, her mind raced, and she saw her own limits. She wept, not from failure, but from relief, and began to listen. In humility, she found the path unfolding. The master's eyes crinkled, reflecting the lantern's glow. The Buddha taught us that all beings share the same potential for awakening. Arrogance denies this, fostering division and suffering. Respect those who walk with humility, who see every person as a teacher. Arrogance builds walls. Humility opens gates to wisdom. Here the students exhaled, feeling their own pride soften, their hearts stretching toward connection. The redwoods stood sentinel, their branches whispering of endurance and unity. 2. Dishonesty. The master's voice grew firm, like the steady pulse of a drum calling the Sangha to practice. The second quality to turn away from is dishonesty, he said. Dishonesty is a fracture in trust, and trust is the breath of community, the foundation of our shared path. He pointed to a small stone altar nearby, where a candle burned beside a statue of Kuan Yin, her serene face aglow. This flame shines steadily, offering light to all who see it. Truth is like this, simple, clear, unwavering. But dishonesty twists the light, casting shadows where clarity should be. He gestured toward the valley, where lights twinkled from distant cabins. Consider a mechanic in a small town, promising quick fixes to weary travelers, but using cheap parts to cut costs. His customers drive away, only to break down miles later. Word spreads, and his shop empties, not just of cars, but of respect. The mechanic feels the weight, his sleep restless, knowing he's betrayed those who trusted him. The students shifted, some recalling their own moments of bending the truth, a dodged question, a half-kept promise, and felt a quiet ache. The master's voice softened, weaving a memory. There was a student here, Jamal, who joined us last spring. He spoke warmly of his commitment to the precepts he sahibs. But one night, he took extra blankets from the dorm, claiming they were spares, while others shivered. When confronted, he bristled, then fell silent. We sat together, not in judgment, but in mindfulness, and Jamal faced his choice. He returned the blankets, apologized, and joined us in meditation. His tears fell as he spoke his truth, and in that honesty, he found freedom. The Sangha embraced him, stronger for it. The master leaned closer, his voice a gentle current. The Buddha's precept of truthful speech is a vow to align our words with reality, to build bridges of trust. Respect those whose words hold steady, like this candle's flame, for they nurture connection. Dishonesty frays the web of life. Truth weaves it whole. The students breathed deeply, feeling the call to speak with care, to let their words be lanterns in the dark. The waterfall's hum seemed to affirm their resolve. A song of clarity. 3. Selfishness. The third quality that does not merit respect, the master said, is selfishness. Selfishness is like a fist clenched around a single grain of rice, unwilling to share, blind to the abundance of the field. He gestured to the redwoods, their roots entwined beneath the earth, invisible yet vital. These trees do not hoard sunlight or water. They share through a network that feeds the forest. Selfishness, however, seeks only its own gain, heedless of others' needs. He paused, his eyes scanning the circle. Picture a nurse in a busy hospital, keeping the best shifts for herself, ignoring her colleagues' exhaustion. She gains rest, but her team falters. Patients suffer, and resentment grows. Her heart grows heavy, sensing the rift she's created. Yet she clings to her choice, fearing loss. Yet the students felt the nurse's isolation, their breaths catching at the thought of her son's burden. The master's voice grew vivid with a story. In this valley, years ago, a farmer named Rosa grew apples, her orchard thriving. When drought came, she kept her water rights tightly, refusing to share with neighbors whose crops withered. Her trees bore fruit, but her heart did not. The town remembered, and when the rains returned, few helped her harvest. Rosa came to our retreat, sitting with her regret. One day, she brought baskets of apples to the Sangha, offering them freely. She worked alongside others, her laughter mingling with theirs, and found joy in giving. Her orchard flourished, but more so, her spirit. The students' eyes softened, seeing Rosa's transformation, feeling their own desire to open their hands. The master's tone was warm. The Dharma teaches dana, generosity, as a path to liberation. Selfishness binds us to suffering, but giving frees us to see our interconnectedness. Respect those who share without measure, for they embody the Buddha's heart. By turning from selfishness, we sow harmony. The students nodded, their fingers loosening around their malas, ready to give time, kindness, presence. The lantern's glow seemed to expand, wrapping them in warmth. 4. Cruelty. The master's voice grew heavy, like the toll of a temple bell at dusk. The fourth quality that does not deserve respect is cruelty, he said. Cruelty is the choice to cause pain, through words, actions, or neglect, when kindness could have been offered. He looked toward a patch of wildflowers near the clearing, their petals delicate yet resilient in the evening chill. These blooms bend with the wind, harming none, offering beauty to all who pass. Cruelty, however, seeks to crush, to wound for its own sake. He paused, his hands still. Think of a classmate in a suburban school, spreading rumors about a shy peer, laughing as their target shrinks inward. The gossip spreads. The peer skips classes. Their confidence erodes. The classmate feels a fleeting thrill, but it fades, leaving unease, a nagging sense of wrong. The students' hearts tightened, some recalling harsh words they'd spoken or heard, the sting lingering. The master shared a memory, his voice thick with feeling. I knew a girl, Sophia, who came to this retreat as a teenager. At her school, she'd joined others in mocking a boy for his weight, her laughter masking her own insecurities. The boy's silence haunted her, and here, during a meditation, she saw his pain clearly. She wept, her body shaking, and wrote him a letter, apologizing with no expectation of reply. He responded, not with anger, but gratitude, and they became friends. Sophia learned to speak with kindness, her heart growing as these redwoods. The students' eyes glistened, feeling Sophia's remorse and redemption, their own vows to choose care over harm. The master's voice softened. The Buddha taught us to cultivate loving kindness, to ease suffering wherever we find it. Cruelty hardens us, separating us from our true nature. Respect those who offer compassion, who mend what is broken. By turning from cruelty, we plant peace. The students sat in silence, their breath slow, feeling the flower's fragility, their own capacity for gentleness. The owls called again, a reminder of life's tenderness. 5. Laziness. The master's voice carried a gentle challenge, like sunlight breaking through fog. The fifth quality to avoid is laziness, he said. Laziness is not rest. Rest is a sacred pause, like the breath between chants. Laziness is the refusal to act, to grow, to honor the gift of this moment. He gestured to the retreat center, where a volunteer raked leaves, her movements steady, mindful. This friend works not for reward, but to create space for practice. Laziness, however, lets weeds choke the path. He looked at the students, his eyes kind but firm. Consider a student in a community college, skipping classes to binge shows, ignoring assignments. Their grades slip, their dreams fade. Not for lack of ability, but for lack of effort. They feel the loss, a quiet shame, yet turn back to the screen, avoiding the work of change. The students shifted, some recognizing their own procrastination, the weight of missed chances. The master's voice grew vivid with a story. There was a young man, Ethan, who came to our retreats. He loved photography but rarely picked up his camera, saying he'd start later. Days passed, his lens gathering dust. During a walking meditation here, he noticed the redwood's textures, the light on a fern. He sat with his inertia, feeling its pull. The Sangha encouraged him, and one morning, he rose at dawn, capturing the valley's mist. His photos shared with us stirred our hearts. Ethan learned that effort is a gift to himself and others. The students felt Ethan's spark. their own resolve kindling. The Master's tone was encouraging. The Buddha's path calls for right effort, steady, mindful action. Respect those who strive, who meet each day with purpose. Laziness dims our potential. Diligence lights the way. The students straightened, feeling the earth beneath them, ready to act with intention. The bell chimed, a call to wakefulness. 60s, close-mindedness. The sixth quality that does not deserve respect, the Master said, is close-mindedness. A close-minded person clings to their views like a leaf, refusing to fall, blind to the cycle of seasons. He pointed to the sky, where clouds drifted across the stars, ever-changing. The Dharma teaches impermanence. Nothing stays fixed, and wisdom lies in flowing with that truth. Close-mindedness resists, shutting out new voice. He paused, his hands open. Think of a teacher in a rural school, rejecting new methods because it's always been done this way. Her students struggle, their curiosity stifled, and she feels the disconnect, yet holds tighter to habit. Each the students felt the teacher's rigidity, their own moments of stubbornness surfacing. The Master shared a story, his voice steady. In our Sangha, there was a woman, Grace, who believed meditation required silence, dismissing guided practices as not real. When we tried a visualization, she sat apart, arms crossed. One evening, during a talk on openness, she stayed listening. She tried the practice, her face softening as she saw its depth. Grace became our guide for new methods, her heart wide as this valley. Her shift taught us all. The students smiled, feeling Grace's growth, their minds easing. The Master's tone was warm. The Buddha urged us to question, to explore with curiosity. Respect those who listen, who embrace change. Close-mindedness traps us. Openness frees us to awaken. The students felt their thoughts expand, ready to hear new truths. The stars gleamed, inviting them to see beyond. 7. Envy. The Master's voice grew reflective, like a lake mirroring the night. The seventh quality to turn away from is envy, he said. Envy is a shadow in the heart, born when we resent another's joy, unable to share it. He looked at the students, their faces soft in the lantern's light. Envy blocks mudita, sympathetic joy, whispering that another's gain diminishes us. He paused, his hands still. Consider an artist in a city loft, watching a peer's gallery show sell out. She skips the opening, her heart tight and her own work stalls, overshadowed by bitterness. The students felt the artist's pang, recalling their own twinges of comparison. The Master's voice carried a memory. There was a student, Maya, who practiced here. Her friend Lila published a poetry book, and Maya's heart sank, feeling left behind. She stopped writing, her notebooks blank. During a retreat, she sat with her envy, seeing its roots in fear. She reached out to Lila, celebrating her work, and they read together under these trees. Maya's poems flowed again, alive with new light. Her joy in Lila's success freed her own. The students' hearts lifted, seeing Maya's release, their own gratitude stirring. The Master's eyes shone. The Buddha taught us to rejoice in others' happiness, for it expands our own. Respect those who celebrate without envy, who know joy is infinite. Envy binds us to lack. Joy opens us to love. Here the students exhaled, feeling warmth for their friends' triumphs, ready to cheer. The night felt alive, vibrant with connection. 8. Hypocrisy. The Master's voice was clear, like a stream cutting through stone. The eighth quality that does not merit respect is hypocrisy, he said. A hypocrite speaks of virtue but lives against it. Their words avail over their actions. He gestured to the altar, where Kuan Yin's statue stood, her gaze steady. In practice, we strive for integrity, our deeds mirroring our vows. Hypocrisy betrays this, sowing doubt. He paused, his eyes scanning the circle. Think of a yoga teacher in a coastal studio, preaching mindfulness, but snapping at students off the mat. Her class is thin, her words hollow, and she feels the gap, yet hides it. The students felt the teacher's discord, their own inconsistencies surfacing. The master shared a story, his tone steady. There was a man, Daniel, in our Sangha, who led talks on non-violence, but argued fiercely at home. His family grew distant, his heart uneasy. He joined a retreat, sitting with his contradictions. He spoke to us, voice breaking, and vowed to align his life with his words. He listened to his family, rebuilt trust, and his talks gained depth, rooted in truth. The students felt Daniel's courage, their resolve strengthening. The master's voice was warm. The Buddha called us to live our truth, our actions a reflection of our heart. Respect those whose lives match their words, for they build faith. Hypocrisy fractures trust, integrity heals it. The students nodded, vowing to align their lives, their hearts steady. The redwoods stood firm, anchoring their intention. 9. Greed. The ninth quality to avoid, the master said, is greed. Greed is a hunger that never rests, craving more, wealth, power, praise. While blind to what sustains, he pointed to the earth, rich with roots and worms, alive with giving. This land shares freely, nurturing all. Greed takes without return, leaving barrenness. He paused, his hands open. Consider a CEO in a tech firm, pushing workers for profit, ignoring their burnout. His wealth grows, but his team frays, and he feels empty, chasing more. The students felt the CEO's void, their own wants surfacing. The master's voice grew vivid with a story. In our town, a store owner, Linda, raised prices during a storm, selling water at triple cost. Her cash piled up, but her neighbors turned away, hurt by her choice. Linda came here, sitting with her greed. She saw its cost, not in money, but in connection. She began donating supplies, working with the community, and her store became a hub of care, her heart full. The students saw Linda's shift, their hearts easing toward simplicity. The master's tone was gentle. The Dharma teaches contentment, finding enough. Respect those who give freely, who value life over gain. Greed chains us to want. Contentment frees us to live. The students exhaled, feeling abundance in the moment, ready to share. The lantern's flame steadied, a symbol of sufficiency. Number 10. Apathy. The master's voice was deep, like the valley's heartbeat. The 10th quality that does not deserve respect is apathy, he said. Apathy is the refusal to engage with life's joys, its pains, its call to act. He looked to the stars, bright against the night, each a pulse of light. The Buddha saw suffering and joy, choosing to meet both with awareness. Apathy turns away, choosing numbness. He paused, his eyes kind. Think of a neighbor in a city apartment, ignoring a protest for justice, saying it's not their fight. The cause struggles, and they feel detached, their life gray. The students felt the neighbor's drift, their own moments of disengagement. The master shared a story, his voice warm. Last year, a flood hit our county. Most helped, cooking, building, listening. But a woman, Tara, stayed home, claiming it wasn't her concern. She felt the ache of separation, her days flat. She came to our retreat, sitting with her silence. One day she joined a cleanup, hauling debris with others. Her hands blistered, but her heart opened, laughter mixing with sweat. Tara found purpose, her life vivid again. The students' eyes shone, feeling Tara's awakening, their hearts alive. The master's smile was radiant. The Dharma calls us to care, to act with love. Respect those who embrace life fully, for they weave our world. Apathy cuts us off. Engagement binds us to all. The students sat, their breaths one with the night, vowing to live with heart.